And then there's so many trends that come and go on TikTok and that kind of bleed out into other platforms. I think it was last summer, or maybe last fall, Very Demure, Very Mindful was trending all over from TikTok. I had someone on the team who came up with Very Demure, Very Mindful Slack tips.
Out of curiosity, what was the demure tip of the day?
Always reply in thread. That is, I think, the one that everybody is the most passionate about. And yeah, that's all you gotta say. Always reply in thread.
Always reply in thread.
Yeah.
I like always reply in thread.
Yes.
Sometimes you forget to check that little box, but it's important. All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Changing Reality. My name is Harsha, and I am your host. And today we're interviewing the wonderful Sabrina, Director of Social Media at Salesforce, specifically overlooking their Slack division. And I think I can safely say we're all huge fans of Slack here, whether it's for, class projects, whether you're an entrepreneur, communicating with your startup folks, or whether you just like Slack. I think it's a wonderful product, and I am excited to interview the brains behind their social media strategy. So, Sabrina, how are you feeling today?
I'm doing great, feeling great. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, hopefully it wasn't too far. Your office is right around the corner.
Right around the corner, yes.
Okay, we'll get you back in time as soon as possible.
Yes.
But, I'm really excited to chat. And before we dive in, because you're such a social media whiz, I thought, we can start off a little bit more fun than usual. And we're going to do a quick rapid fire. And we're going to get you, a couple of questions just to get warmed up. And just say the first thing that comes to mind as quick as possible.
All right? Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, zeroing in. Question number 1. What's the first app you reach for on your phone every morning?
Oh, my alarm clock to turn it off.
Do you actually? Okay, after the alarm clock, when you're blurry or awake,
Slack, obviously. I'm looking at Slack. Yeah, I'm just doing a quick scan, and then I'm putting my phone down and getting ready for the day.
Oh my God. Yeah. Why did I expect anything else? Okay, beautiful answer. Yes. Okay, what's the one social media trend you cannot get enough of right now?
Oh, that is a good one. I love the old choreography to Judas by Lady Gaga. There's a lot of those videos up on TikTok right now, and that song's been stuck in my head, and the old choreography is great. Love that.
What is your overused Slack emoji on your company Slack that you put
definitely. I overuse blob a lot. So there's like the blob emojis on Slack. I love blob. I think it's such a fun emoji. So I always use like the blob heart emoji. Yes, I'm a big fan.
If you had to, describe your social media strategy as a genre in a movie, what would the genre be?
Maybe like a ghost movie in the sense that I never post on social personally because I'm not there. So yeah, maybe like that, but maybe avant-garde because when I do post, it's so random and few and inconsistent that it's like, oh, what is she posting? So.
And that brings us to our killer question.
Yes.
What's on your FYP page?
Oh my gosh, my FYP, there is a lot of great information from all around the world. I love keeping up with everything going on in the world. And I think there's a lot of that on my FYP, but also I'm a big fan of organizing and like putting things away in their place. So a lot of like organizing ASMR is on my FYP lately.
Oh my God, I love that. I have a theory in life that you only really know a person once you see their like Instagram, TikTok, or like YouTube short reels. Because like you think you know someone, but the algorithm knows them probably better than they know themselves. So,
It's true. I agree with that. Yeah. It always knows like what book I'm reading. I'm a big reader. It's crazy how accurate it is.
Okay. In that case, last question.
Yes.
What's the way you get the information that you love the most? Books, podcasts, or, YouTube short, Instagram reels kind of stuff?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. I love podcasts, honestly. I really do think that's a great way to consume media. And I think I'm a big fan of NPR and like New York Magazine. I really like checking their apps. Their apps are like very well done. And I think they have like a great local, but also national and international take on what's going on in the world.
So you'd obviously have a nice balanced media diet between the social media career, the podcast, and the little reading, like, nugget of
Yeah.
wisdom you gave us earlier.
Yeah.
You've got it all balanced, better
Yeah.
than the rest of us, really. And I'm so curious how you actually got into a career
Yes.
in the world of social media as well. I know so many young people who would dream to, number one, work at a tech company like Salesforce, but also dream to be able to, make social media their career, to be able to do that effectively at such a level that you do. So wind back the clock for us. Where does the
Let's wind
story
back the
start?
clock. Ancient history. Let me wind back the clock to 2012. I majored in print journalism, so I wanted to write for magazines and interview people and get some stories out there in the world. I had a very forward-thinking professor who said, look, the journalism industry is a little rough. You may have a very hard time getting jobs at magazines or newspapers, but there is this new thing coming up called social media marketing. A lot of the skills you've learned in journalism school are transferable to social media marketing. And so I did a few internships in my program and really just fell in love with it. I loved how new social media was. I mean, back then it was pretty lawless, and a lot of brands were
It was
just
the
kind
wild,
of
wild
the
west
wild,
of
wild
social
west.
media.
Yeah. So I feel like there was a lot of experimentation and like things you could try across all different platforms. It was also mainly a Facebook and Twitter game at that point. And so it was really fun to start my career in social there. I worked with a few local nonprofits where I went to school in Richmond, Virginia, and to try to get their social media presence kind of up and running. And then from there, I just kind of followed it. I did a few internships in PR, and then I followed that into fashion and retail. I moved to San Francisco after graduating from college. And I moved there without a plan. I landed at SFO on Wednesday and I got a job at Zara on Saturday. So I just kind of moved there and figured it out, to be honest. And I think that looking back, I'm very like admiring my own courage, I guess. And so I just kind of trusted that I would figure it out, and I did. So after I left Zara, I got a job working at a local fashion company in SF and was running social for them. But I was also doing a bunch of other marketing duties, which I really loved that. And early on in my career, I was able to kind of work in different parts of marketing and different parts of a business and really understand. And throughout my career, I've kind of had this trajectory of like, I started at a smaller company and then I went a little bigger and a little bigger. So I left the fashion place and then I worked in publishing for a little bit, also doing social media marketing, but I was also working on some newsletter stuff and doing a few influencer marketing things when it was very, very new. So that was super fun as well. And then I moved to Salesforce. And I was at Salesforce for 6 years and absolutely loved working there. And I learned so much. I had some incredible mentors and like managers that really kind of helped guide me, I think. And Salesforce has been such an incredible, place in my career for me. The people I've worked with were incredible. And again, just kind of learning and really being open to understanding how social works has been a really big part of my career. I think the thing I love about social media the most is that it changes so often and like it changes every year. I mean, there was like about 9 or 10 months of my career when I was making decks about Snapchat and how we needed to be on Snapchat because that was like the new hot thing. This is like pre-Instagram story, right? So when you think back about all the iterations all the social companies have made, there's so many different avenues and different like moments in time that brands have been kind of pushing themselves into. And that's been a really fun part of my career. Like you really can't be precious about like, this Facebook following you built in 2015 and now, Facebook is maybe not giving you the organic reach that you want. So you're maybe prioritizing other platforms. But it's been really great working in social, really understanding a brand and a brand's tone of voice has been fun. But I think if you ask any other social media marketer, social is amazing because it's such a forgiving platform. It is a place where you can make mistakes. At the same time, it's also a place when you do make mistakes, it can be very, very loud. And you can get a ton of feedback and everybody makes mistakes. Every brand has messed up. I definitely have in my career. I put out announcements that were not supposed to go live at a certain time, like maybe an hour or two early. But you just got to roll with the punches and really understand what is best for your brand in that day, on that day, I think. Yeah.
You have given me so many gems to
Yes.
unpack there. First of all, beautiful story. And just a few questions, just picking up from that story itself.
Yeah.
I really like that early career. The word you used was courage. And I think a lot of young people who are exiting the work or exiting college into the world right now need a little bit of courage and love. Really, I think we live in a time where with everything that's happening in tech and AI, people are seeing, jobs that they studied for not too long ago, become less and less relevant, and they need to pivot, they need to move, and it's just a scary kind of, space and time to be in for, college students leaving. I had a friend who just said, I gotta quit my job. I don't know what's next. I'm thinking of my options through. And honestly, I'm a little scared. So just talking about the emotional aspect as well, putting us in, your shoes, moving to a new city, figuring out what your path was. How did you feel? Like, what was the thoughts that you were running into, in your mind? And also tell me a little bit about your emotional state and how you were able to navigate that.
For sure. Yeah, that's a great question. And I definitely sympathize and have a lot of empathy for people who are entering the workforce right now, because I think it is very tough. And so, I just want to acknowledge that, because it's hard. It's really hard out there. And I feel that this new generation is just going to come out that much more resilient. And this group that's graduating now is going to be, doing a lot of really cool things over the next few years. But the reality of that is you really do need to take care of your mental health, and you need to look out for yourself and understand what's important to you and understand what your values are. For me, like landing in San Francisco without a job, I was like, I need to hustle. I'm going to get the first job that I can get and then apply for jobs on the side on nights and weekends or when I had a day off or something. And I think that is something that, I would encourage younger folks to do as well, understand what your values are. For me, it was important to just stay working. And I know that that's also good for my brain, right? It was not going to be good for my brain to sit around and only apply to a, salaried social media job, because that's what I studied. Again, I want to acknowledge it was a different time, the industry and the job market were different, but, know what's important to you, know how you thrive. A lot of those things you will just learn over time. But take care of yourself and talk to your people and, definitely celebrate your wins. When I got that job at Zara, I was like, yeah, I got a job at Zara.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm going to go work until I find something new. And so I'm very, happy with the choices I made and the intuition I followed and just having that courage. And another thing I would say to, folks who are graduating now is don't be afraid to tap into your network. And that includes people you're graduating with. It includes your cousin. It includes your cousin's brother. It's just there's all these different people you can tap into. And some sentiments I've heard from folks, even people who have been in the workforce for a while, is I'm nervous to reach out to them, or is this awkward, or is this weird? I would just encourage you to not be nervous and to follow up with people. I follow up with people 3 times and then I stop. And just be persistent and be trust yourself, be persistent, trust yourself, and take care of your brain. It's important. It will get you far.
No, I love that. And again, I have 3 people who needed to hear exactly that. So I really appreciate you being as transparent and authentic as you are about it. As you said, it's the mental health component is important. The trust yourself part is important. I like when you said intuition. I was okay. Yeah. That you don't hear that all the time. In this crazy world of applying for jobs and so on. And talking a little bit about your own experiences. You mentioned quite a few. Yeah. Internships in nonprofit, fashion. You're in tech right now. Yep. And I'm curious, what were some of the maybe core lessons that you learned from one industry that you applied in another, or something that maybe you learned in more physical marketing or more influencer marketing that you still, influence the way that you think about social media and the work you do today?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I get asked that question pretty often because I've worked in the B2B space and B2C. And I think most people who work in B2B would also say like B2B marketing is really B2B to C. At the end of the day, you are marketing to a person. You're not marketing to like an entity. You're marketing to a person who is making decisions about businesses and that type of thing. I think the lessons I've learned is like every brand is different. Every brand has a specific and unique voice. But at the end of the day, it's just about communicating clearly, not using jargon, making your point clear, having a clear call to action. Those are some of like the through lines I've seen throughout like marketing in my career for sure.
And I'm sure that has also changed. Like I like how you said like if you had like thousands of followers on Facebook in 2015, that may not be the best channel for you now.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about, your own journey seeing social media evolve as the business platform that it is for a lot of brands.
Yeah, for sure. Specifically, I work on the Slack team at Salesforce, and LinkedIn is our biggest channel right now. I mean,
why did I not guess that?
Yeah. So we have like around 1.6 million followers, and the algorithm on LinkedIn, I think, is very good. I think it's working really well for a lot of B2B brands and tech brands specifically. So seeing that rise has been very interesting because LinkedIn used to be kind of maybe not as prioritized for social media marketers, but now it's really kind of gaining a lot of traction. But yeah, seeing all these different trends has been so interesting. All these different platforms come and go. Who knows what the next 5 years will look like in social media marketing. That's something I think about often is like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Like, I don't know, because I don't know if like my job exists yet type of thing that I'll have in 5 years. But definitely it's been so interesting seeing all the platforms kind of come and go. And really another thing I love about working in social media is that it's often a reflection of like culture and society at large at the time. When you look at the platform X, formerly known as Twitter, kind of looking at what that represents about culture and society and politics and history. Not to get philosophical, but I mean, it's social media is such an important snapshot of just where like culture is and society is, what people are using the most. You look at the rise of TikTok and short form video. People want to be entertained. People maybe are burnt out from what's going on in life and they need a break and they want to get information in quick, short ways from a real person filming a video type of thing. So again, I really like looking at how these social platforms and these trends represent society and cultural shifts. But then, career-wise, it has been so interesting to see all the different kind of peaks and valleys of all these platforms. And frankly, it makes it exciting, like I think there's some careers that are the same year over year over year. I don't know why I want to pick on accountants, but maybe I do. But like accounting, great career, but also that is something that maybe is the same every 4 years.
It's always tax day.
Yeah, that's the thing. So maybe that is a career where everything is the same, versus like social media marketing is constantly changing and there's constantly new rules and new best practices.
It really is, again, to our analogy earlier, the wild, wild west of the tech world. And I think it's so refreshing because, as you said, it's never a stale day. And I'm curious, like as someone, because we have a lot of, I'm sure, young entrepreneurs watching this who are trying to understand how they can best leverage social media. And I guess one question that I have is, how do you know when something is a trend that you should hop on now? Or if it's just like a passing fad where it's not enough to kind of, even look at, like it could be a trend on like TikTok, for instance, or even LinkedIn, or it could be just the rise of a new social media platform. Like you mentioned, like, hey, at one point, we had to present like months worth of research of like why Snapchat is like the place to be. And love to Snapchat, but as you said, LinkedIn now is like reigning champion. So how do you know what's the right move to make, especially in a kind of, field that's changing so quickly?
Yeah, it's a great question. You really have to look at your brand and like what's important to your brand, and are you in a place to take a risk? Are you in a place to try something new? And then there's so many trends that come and go on TikTok and that kind of bleed out into other platforms. And then seeing, is there an easy and seamless way that I could take this trend and apply it to my brand? I think it was last summer, maybe last fall, Very Demure, Very Mindful, was trending all over from TikTok, from Jules LeBron. And I had someone on the team who came up with Very Demure, Very Mindful Slack tips. So, I mean, that was just like a seamless way to bring that trend in. And Slack is such an amazing way to work. And I'm very passionate about Slack and using and, think it is the best way to work. But people are also very passionate about how to use Slack and what the tips are and like what is like the best way to work in Slack and to be like productive, but also a good, team member, coworker, and planning and working on different things. So that was like a good trend for us to hop on. But, maybe the action figure trend is not going to work for Slack because we don't have like a person necessarily or a mascot representing Slack right now. So it wouldn't really work for us. If we could stretch to find something, there are a few Salesforce characters we could maybe work, but I don't know if that would be like a fit for Slack.
Okay, that's a nice
Yeah.
distinction.
Yeah.
And out of curiosity, what was
Yeah.
the demure tip of the day you made?
Oh my gosh, there were quite a few, but always reply in thread. That is, I think, the one that everybody is the most passionate about. And yeah, that's all you got to say. Always reply in thread.
Always reply in thread.
Yeah.
I like always reply in thread. Sometimes
Yes.
you forget to check that little
Yep.
box, but it's an important box.
Yeah.
Very demure, very mindful.
Yes.
And and on that note, you see these trends.
Yeah.
You're on social media as well. And in every company, you're working with people of different generations, maybe some who are personally on a certain platform versus others.
Yeah.
How do you kind of, have the conversation between people of different generations, different levels of social media, different platform preferences? How do you communicate? Because I can't imagine going to a meeting going like, very demure, very mindful. This is the thing that we got to do, and this is how it translates. Like, how do you have those conversations within an organization?
It's a great question. And I think folks who do work in social and like work in a large organization, deal with this a lot. And it's honestly one of my favorite parts of the job because I love showing and explaining and teaching social media to someone who may be from a different generation or maybe just isn't a social media native like I am. I'm on social all day. So it really makes you take a step back. It's kind of like a fun experiment to be like, okay, how can I explain the very demure, very mindful trend to someone who's never heard of it before? Like, okay, I think I described it as like, oh, these are like a pro-life tips. Like these are just like very, I don't know, like I was going to say classy, but that's not even the right word. These are just like very good ways to be in the world. Very respectful. Yes. Very like maybe even regal ways to be in the world, respected ways. I like that. So explaining that. And so we said like, our community uses Slack, is so passionate about Slack. And we know that having a post where we talk about the best tips and the best ways to use Slack will really get us a lot of engagement and we'll get a lot of great conversation from our community. So we really think this will be like, a home run for us. And so we were able to kind of convince our leadership to run with it. And I think it was one of our top performing posts of last year. So really love that we were able to jump on that trend. But explaining social to leadership, it's definitely a thing. You got to roll with the punches a little bit and kind of meet people where they are and help to explain how algorithms work or maybe why some platforms are maybe falling out of favor with like a lot of folks and like in society and culture and explaining like the stereotypes of certain platforms or what have you. We have new things coming out like Blue Sky and like even Substack, which like I have been on more and more myself. So I think it's a really exciting time to be working in social, and it's also a great time to become like a little bit of an expert in all of them so that you can start explaining it to folks who are maybe not on social media as often as you are.
No, that's beautifully said.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people who want to have a career in social media, but I think there's a lot of expectation versus reality. So shatter our illusions for a second here.
Definitely. It's a great point. I think there's definitely a misconception of working in social media marketing for a brand and being a creator. Similar but very different. Creators, I have so much respect for creators because that is a very difficult role and a very difficult job when you are making your own content, editing your own content, figuring out what's resonating with your audience, if it's going to work with, the goals you have as a creator. Are you, championing a brand? Are you trying to sell something? What have you? Like that's very difficult. And it's like very much like a small operation most of the time. versus working in social for a brand is so different because you do want to position a brand instead of like maybe positioning yourself or your company. You're positioning a brand with guidelines and, a product launch or product features or new things that are coming out. I think they're really different careers. I think both of them require a lot of knowledge about social. And I mean, how do you get knowledge on social? You use it. Like we're all on social media. That's the best way to get knowledge on social. I don't think there's a book you can read about social media, but keeping up with other brands and the brands and creators that you follow, it's really great, like to understand or step back and be like, wait, why am I following this creator? Like, what about this creator or this brand do I love? I found that I follow a lot of creators who have like interior design style that I really love. So I'm like, oh, it's really just pleasing for me when they're making a video in their house and I just like looking at their beautiful home or their beautiful apartment. Like I like things that are visually appealing for me. But I'm also following people who are, talking about, the news and what's going on in the world. Like, okay, I'm following this person because I'm learning something. So taking a step back and understanding what you love about different creators or brands you follow, I think is going to do a lot for you as you maybe look at building a career as a creator or working in social media brand marketing. And you can always do both.
There you go. You can always do both. You can be both.
Yeah. Yes.
As we kind of wind down, one thing that you mentioned that, it never occurred to me until I spoke to you was you said social media is a very forgiving platform. I think a lot of times, and, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs who I think every mistake feels like, it's the end of the world. I've been an entrepreneur for 10 years. So at this point, I'm like, yeah, we will wake up tomorrow. It's fine.
Yes.
But I do see a lot of people just like completely panic. And, these are people at different levels of experiences and so on. And I can imagine if that mistake were to happen on social media, their panic would multiply tenfold. So without going to any specific company, because I'm sure you've had lots of different experiences where things went great and things went not so great. How do you manage the process of, making a mistake, especially knowing that people are watching?
Oh my God, I love this question. I've made a ton of mistakes in social. I've made a ton of mistakes in my career. I'm probably going to make a mistake next month or today even. And like, that's okay. Like you said, we're going to wake up tomorrow.
We're not heart surgeons.
Yes. Yeah. We're not heart surgeons. I think like really just actually believing in that too and taking a step back is super important. Something that I have developed throughout my career is the ability to stay calm. Like, I think that is such an underrated skill and such an underrated like soft skill, so to speak. But if you're able to stay calm in the midst of some kind of chaotic brand moment or something is posted or there's a typo or something like that, I think it really says a lot about your approach. And whenever I do make a mistake or realize maybe something is wrong, the first thing I'm thinking about, okay, what are three or four ways I could fix this? I could delete the post. I could let my leadership know that something went wrong, or I could talk to my team about it and we can come up with a solution, or I can bounce ideas off of another team. But the ability to just stay calm will actually help you action on solutions. And that's something I really also look for when I'm hiring as well, is like, can you stay calm? Like, I mean, it's really an underrated skill, I think, in social and working for big brands as well. Yeah.
So for all of those who, again, want to work in social, but also love these big tech companies, love these, organizations that like Slack and like Salesforce are at the forefront of their respective fields. Yep. Any advice for them of how to break into the industry?
Yes. I would definitely encourage everyone to follow the brands that they, or the companies they want to work at on social and understand how they're posting, what they're talking about, reading content that goes out on their websites as well. And even just connecting with folks who work at the companies on LinkedIn. I mean, I think LinkedIn is a very powerful tool, but finding folks who maybe have a similar job to you or a job that you would like and just reaching out on LinkedIn. Like, don't be afraid to shoot your shot. Like,
shoot your shot.
I've had multiple people reach out to me and say like, hey, like, I see you're in New York too. I'm curious like about your career in social media, blah, blah, blah. And I have like chatted with people like either via text or even just like over LinkedIn message. Sometimes I don't always have the time, but I just would encourage folks to not get discouraged and reach out to people and make connections. And of course, just try to really understand what you want to do in social. And I think for folks just starting out, it's really important to be able to do a lot of different things. I think that's a very important skill early on in your career to develop, kind of being a bit of a generalist, and then over time, like kind of working your way into being a little more specialized for sure.
Oh, wonderful. You're very good at being both inspiring and very practical.
Oh, thank you.
Must
Maybe
be
it's because I'm a big sister.
Is it? Oh no, we can't be
Older
friends
sister
anymore.
vibe.
Older sister vibe. Ah, that's terrifying. Well, we can't let you go without the most important
Yes,
question
yes.
that everyone is dying to know,
Yes.
which is, what is your personal top 3 Slack tips?
Oh my God, my favorite question. Okay. My top 3, I think in no particular order, but they are like my favorite 3. Scheduled send. I love a scheduled send. I have a toddler, and so my working hours are a bit wild. And also, I think I work with a distributed team as well. So making sure that you schedule messages to send out at certain times, maybe when the recipient is going to be online, that's a good way to go about it. And always reply in thread, like always reply in thread. Especially if it's a channel with a lot of people. And then something I've never heard anyone else talk about, but what I use a lot are drafts. So drafting messages, and I kind of use that as like my unread inbox. So like when I do see something I need to reply to, I'll put in like a little note for myself and then go back to my drafts because that's kind of like my task list of things I need to respond to. So that's personally how I do it. And it's just like a fast way, and I'm always doing a million different things. So if I'm like, okay, I need to send this person this, and then I'll kind of go back to it and then spend more time on the message.
That is genius, especially I've never heard that before, but I absolutely love that.
Highly recommend.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show. You have been a wonderful guest to talk to, and I'm sure everyone who's watching has learned and enjoyed, listening in as much as I have.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. This was super fun.
All right. Well, with that, we come to our end of our episode of Changing Reality today. Thank you guys for watching, and see y'all next week.